Good evening, welcome to Boro Fan TV and our first show of the season on the bench on a Monday night. James Hutchinson here at the Longlands Club. Joining me this week are Lee Bailey and Joe Scott. Welcome to the show, lads.
Cheers, James.
Alright, good pre-season, lads?
Yep, very good.
Yeah, okay, Lee?
Yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. As you'll notice, this show this week's going out recorded. We hopefully will be going out live in future weeks where we can take your views on board and your opinions, get in touch with us. And also, if like Lee or Joe, you'd like to come in, become involved in the show and join us here on a Monday night, you're more than welcome to. So get in touch with us here at Boro Fan TV. This is your show, your club and your vehicle to talk about it. Okay? Lots to get through tonight, lads, with it being the first show of the season. We've had a change in manager. Incomings and outgoings with the playing staff. I think with more to come before the end of the transfer window this week. A thrilling opening game. I didn't think we had a thrilling game in 46 last year. We had a thrilling game for the first one. And look at our opening home game with Brentford this weekend. So loads to get through. So lads, as you say, summer, all refreshed, get up to out, do anything interesting?
Not me, apart from celebrating my 30th birthday this week.
Congratulations, mate.
Yep, I got to spend it a weekend in Blackpool, so...
Oh, I don't know Blackpool, eh? Yeah.
Lovely jolly with that.
Very good, very good. How about you, Lee? You had a bit of footballing during the summer?
Yeah, I was in Portugal for the Nations League, but wasn't to be, was it?
Another trophy.
Another semi-final.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. It was better than getting beaten in the quarter-finals and first round, or not even getting there if you're Scottish. So, you know, we'll move on from there for our Scottish viewers. So, let's see. In terms of the England thing, I'll just touch on that a minute. In the summer, was he any way you would sort of like criticise what took place in terms of a few people were criticising like John Stones for his performance and one or two of the others in terms of how the player, would you have a go at the players about that, or do you think that's how we go now?
At the time I was like, because I think he got off 4 or 5 times before he eventually got caught.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to, if you've got to go along, but
yeah.
I can understand Southgate saying he wants to play a certain way, so
and that's it,
he's not going to back down. So
yeah, I think that's a fair one. And having watched, I know we'll talk about the Luton game in more depth further on in the programme, Joe, but having seen what Boro did on Friday night, do you see some sort of similarities? I know it's only one game in how Jonathan Woodgate's setting up the Boro and how Gareth Southgate's gone with England. Yeah,
it's pretty different from the norm that we saw under Pulis back in the day, but it's as I said in my the final whistle there this past week, there's a lot of positives to take out of Woody's first game in charge. It was a different style of football which we never got to see last season, and if we keep it like that from now to the end of the season, we'll see what brings.
Certainly think we'll be
positive so far.
Yeah. So lads, at the end of May, we saw what some fans hailed as the extinction of the dinosaur on Teesside. Tony Pulis left his post as Boro manager. How would you sum up his tenure here at the club? I mean, we had a fifth place finish in his first season, half season, and then 7th place last year. I suppose there was a lot of issues with the approach that he used and a lack of entertainment. I mean, 49 goals we got last season. How would you sum up his time at the club, Lee?
Ultimately, on the pitch, a failure, but if you look at what he done off the pitch, like, you know, reducing the wage on that, but he's a manager first and foremost, isn't he? So, failure. Yeah. You class it as a failure.
How would you say it was, Joe?
Like Lee said, it was half and half. It was on the pitch, very, very frustrating. There wasn't enough entertaining football, which the Boro fans do love to see. But off the pitch, in terms of man management, he was spot on. You know, he was what he done with Adama Traore and what he done with other players. Can't say that, like I said before, we got him in, we needed an experienced manager, but unfortunately for us, on the pitch it just never worked. But he was a genius off the pitch in terms of man management, so it's one of those.
Yeah, how do you lads think the dressing room will have felt upon his departure? Because, I mean, there was some players there who've blossomed under him. I know Traore is not at the club anymore, but he certainly was one. But he brought through the development of Lewis Wing. Dale Fry became a different player, I think, when Tony Pulis took over, and to a lesser extent, Tavernier as well. But do you think there'll be some other players in that dressing room who were absolutely delighted he moved on?
Well, for a start, you could tell Britt's happy, or he's got a smile back on his face.
Yeah.
But it's when you say that about Wing, because it was Wing who came out and said, I don't think last season we'd have got back into that game.
Yeah.
So
that's fair point.
I think there'll be more players who are happy that he's gone.
Yeah.
And what are unhappy.
Yeah. Feel the same there, Joe, yeah?
Yeah, it's definitely...
the club have been releasing some videos of them in training and that over the summer, and like it's all work with the ball, where under Pulis it was all just shape, wasn't it?
Yeah,
shape work. So I think they'll be happy.
And do you think the players themselves will feel more relaxed now and maybe more inclined to say, do you know what, we'll take risks during the game in our approach and stuff like that, where it was very like methodical, and this was how you set up during games when Pulis was here?
The new lad, was it Brown?
Who came on the other night? The turn on the touchline.
Could you imagine that happening under Pulis? I don't.
Probably not.
It wouldn't, would it?
No,
so straight away. I know he wasn't here under Pulis, but well, we didn't have wingers under Pulis.
No. Yeah.
I mean, look at Marvin Johnson. He gets loaned out, plays 12 games. He got Van La Parra in, but what was the point in that? Well, he doesn't want to play.
Did he
wingers.
play for 12 minutes? I don't think he played for 12 minutes.
He just wants to make that pitch narrow as it can be.
No. I think it's going to take some use, not just for the players, but I think for the fans this year, that things are going to be very different. And yes, we'll talk about the Luton game again in a minute, but how we approach games is going to be very different this year, and we may score a lot of goals, but we may concede goals that you'll think, God, we'd never let a goal in like that last season, but I think that's just how it's going to be. That's how things are going to pan out this year, aren't they? I mean, probably one of the worst kept secrets during the summer was the appointment of Jonathan Woodgate as manager. I think a lot of people predicted he would take over as Tony Pulis' successor. Do you think the club really ever had anyone else in mind for the job, Joe? Do you think it was always going to be Woodgate?
Well, it's one of them that you just can't figure out who it's going to be. You know, everyone knows it was going to be Woodgate, you know, since Pulis first stepped out of the club. A lot of people judged him, you know, just because of his past, you know, in his personal life. And he was an understudy of Pulis, but from what I saw on Friday night, it was a complete opposite. You know, the players have reacted well. He's bringing his own coaching setup, which I think has worked wonders so far, because compared to last season, it was all defenders on the coaching staff. But now you've got attackers in, which we'll mention shortly. It's worked wonders, I think, from what we looked at the start of the season on Friday night.
No, good point. I mean, I think it's well documented that the club now don't have the money that they've maybe had in past seasons, obviously now with the parachute payments ending. So do you think that was another reason why Jonathan Woodgate was the man to step into the top job?
Yeah, they could have, well, we don't know, but they may well have interviewed people like Djukanovic and that, and if he's turning around saying, I'll need X amount of money.
Yeah, and it's not there.
It's not there, basically, we haven't got it yet.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't think there's any Boro fans out there. Everybody likes to see new signings come in and your team buy players, but one, it doesn't guarantee your success, and two, do we really want to mortgage our future on blowing 30-40 million pound, which the club doesn't necessarily have, to not even guarantee success at the end of it?
The last few transfer windows we've had have been shocking, spending really large amounts of money. Braithwaite, for example, great player by the way, but just like the signing of Bowler, possibly Dykesdale. These are the signs we should be going for. You know, so I'm all for it. Yeah,
and like you say there, I think you're quite right there. I think Djukanovic was one of the managers that was interviewed, and I think the fact that there wasn't a great big war chest there has maybe put people off from taking on the Boro job. But like I say, if you've got somebody there now who's managing the club, who wants to be there, understands the restrictions they're working under, well then I think that's just a win-win situation for us, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've got to look last season, like first-time managers like Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard have gone to great successes. I think Steve Gibson is probably looking at that with Woodgate in a minute, and probably basically off the funds that we currently have at the moment.
I mean, in terms of a manager, lads, I don't think there's any manager you could employ or bring to your club and everyone would be happy with. I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's always going to be people. There's always going to be people who are going to be critical of whoever you bring in as a manager. But I do think, like you said there earlier, Joe, the backroom staff that have been brought in, that's been a bit of a masterstroke, bringing in the likes of Leo and Danny Coyne, who were both popular at the club when they've been here before. And then Robbie Keane, I think, is a really exciting choice, because I think he's played at the top level all his career, and as you said there, it's an attacking, forward-thinking coach. He's been there, done that throughout his career. What do you think, lads? Do you think it was a good backroom staff appointment?
I think Robbie King could probably still do a job.
He looks fit enough to play still, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, considering that, and he's got the assistant coaches at the Republic of Ireland on the side as well.
He's still doing that, as well. And like you say, one of the things, it may not be connected with it at all, but little things go through your mind, like, well, Darren Randolph's there. Will that maybe encourage Randolph to stay a little bit longer at our club?
Probably,
and it may encourage some other players to come to Middlesbrough as well when they see, because you always bring it back to when we've had previous managers like Brian Robson. I know it's a lot to compare Brian Robson with, say, Jonathan Woodgate and Robbie Keane, but players of a certain generation, they will now think, oh, I watched them when I was a kid and I really liked them as players and things like that, and it might influence them to sign for our club, so hopefully that might have that effect and bring some more talented players here. Obviously this Thursday brings the transfer window to a closure for 4 months. What areas would you like to see us strengthen? I'll start with you first, Joe.
Possibly a new right back. Probably need another holding midfielder and possibly maybe even another striker. Because I think I just don't think we have the capacity to have just have 3 strikers at the club at the moment. And also the right back position we need to cover, since Shotton is probably moving more to the centre back role with Dale Fry currently being out injured. We heard names like Alan Hutton being mentioned, and obviously Anthony Dyke-Steele looks like he's imminent on the way here. So it's could be either of those. You know, we just, as far as strikers go, we've been linked with that guy from Fenerbahce, Michel Frey, I think he's called. So anything can happen between now and Thursday.
I think it goes without saying, Lee, that, and Jonathan Woodgate's alluded to it himself, that the squad is paper thin at the minute, and especially when you're playing in the Championship, you've got 46 games before you add any cup matches in. You're going to get injuries, you're going to get suspensions. More often than not, you've got 3 games a week. You need the backup there, don't you, in terms of a squad, and I don't think we have that at the minute, so we do need to do some business between now and Thursday, don't we?
I think a right back would be my number 1 priority. As much as I like Housen, I think he's wasted there.
I agree with you totally.
He's box-to-box midfielder, isn't he? He's not, I mean, he had a good game, I thought.
He did a decent job, but
but he's not a right back.
No.
Possibly a left-sided midfielder. A number 10 type of midfielder.
Yes, I would like to go with that, especially now Braithwaite's gone. I know you may get goals from midfield from the likes of Wing, but I don't know if he's like a number 10 type player.
He's more like a bit of box-to-box type. I think a right back and a number 10. And again, we're short up front, so not a striker as well.
Yeah, considering the fact you really just have like a Sommalonga, Fletcher, and Gusted as your 3 main strikers.
I think Gusted will be gone as well.
I think it's just somebody taking him on, isn't it?
Well,
I know Millwall were interested in him in the January transfer window, and then that fell down for whatever reason. I don't know whether it was down to wages or Gusted didn't fancy the move to Millwall, which that's his prerogative not to go there. It's his career. But I think when players are on Premier League salaries, there's not many clubs are going to take them on if they don't think it's value for money for them. So
he'll end up going like January desperate, like Sheffield United or something.
That's the only way I can see us getting his contract's up, isn't it, in the summer? He's on his final year, so we certainly won't recoup anything like the money we paid for him.
Oh no.
So
I still think as well. I think Woodgate will shot a few of the young lads in, like Coulson done a job.
Yes.
I think Steve Walker might get a few chances. I think on his back from injury.
I think you'll certainly see players like Walker involved in the cup game next week against Crewe, which is no bad thing.
I think a few of them, Jed Spence, I think a few of them will get some game time.
Nathan Wood, I'll probably say getting a good run in probably this season.
Yeah, and you know what, I mean, I know that's next week and we'll talk about that on next week's show, but would it upset you to get knocked out the cup next week against Crewe? Bearing in mind we got the quarter-final of the League Cup last year, and then we got beaten the 4th round of the FA Cup. Or would you say we've got to build momentum and try and win as many games?
Of course, like I want to win every game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of course it would. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd hate going out next week. I love a cup run.
Right. Okay. Where do you stand on that, Joe?
It depends on the mood of the team, really. If they want to have a good cup run and then go for it, But if you want to focus on the league, probably seek an earliest exit, possibly. Not now, of course. I mean, you don't want to really go out in the first round of the cup. So it just depends on the mood of the team, really.
On that point, I would be rotating the team heavily. Like
Definitely,
you said,
I think
Tuesday, Saturday.
Full changes,
I would be rotating, but I'd still expect us to go through. Surely Crewe would be rotating as well.
Oh, well, you would think so, yeah. I mean, the only reason I say that is because obviously we've got a very small squad. I think it's about priorities, and I think really, I know not many people are expecting us to get promoted this year, and I'm certainly not, and we'll talk about our predictions later on in the show tonight. But I would like that to be our main objective, and I think rather than getting to the 3rd or 4th round of the League Cup or whatever. But there you go, like you say, I'm with you on the point of that you don't want to lose any games either, do you?
Winning breeds success.
Exactly, that's a good point as well, yeah. as much as we're talking about incomings then, lads, how important is it that we hold on to the likes of Darren Randolph, Lewis Wing, Britta Sombalonga this Thursday?
I think Randolph and Wing will stay. I think there could be some interest for Britt.
Right.
I think even in his bad seasons, like last season, he still managed 15, 14 goals.
Yeah.
So I think there could be some.
No,
Randolph
right.
possibly, but I think Wing's still a bit unknown.
Yeah, I think Wing, if he carries on at the rate of
like
development he's going and the progress that he's doing at the minute, I think we'll do well to hold on to him beyond this season if we didn't go up. I really do. But so you've got to enjoy him while he's here. Yeah. But I think, I agree with you. I think he'll still be here for the time being.
Yeah, I'll probably be surprised if Randolph is still here in January, to be honest.
I think a lot of that depends on where we are in the league, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if there's still a chance that we could make playoffs or be near the top two,
you've got Robbie Keane here as well, hopefully.
Yeah, that might encourage him to stay a little bit. Yeah. Just talking about Robbie Keane there and Jonathan Woodgate, would you like to see both those lads have been involved at Tottenham and Liverpool in their careers? Would you like them to maybe use some of the connections they've got at those clubs to bring in some players like Derby did last year with Frank Lampard, who got his connections from Chelsea and other people he knew at Liverpool, to bring in some really quality young players in on loan? Or do you think maybe Derby got a little bit lucky with that last year? No, would you like to maybe see us explore the loan market and get young players from those type of clubs? Yeah,
of course, but I also do think that we've got our own good talented youngsters.
Right.
I wouldn't like us to be loaning our players, our young lads out, and then fill them in with young lads from it. You know what I mean? I'd rather give our lads a chance.
But saying that with the connections as well, I like to probably see a couple of lads from there come in, because I've been recently hearing the news regarding Spurs defender Cameron Carter-Vickers. He might be linked of coming out on loan to us possibly, but we'll see what happens. It worked for Lampard last season.
It did. I mean, he got some really top quality players in on loan, didn't he?
Yeah, so I wouldn't see it being a problem if that worked for us.
I know that
if that happens.
Jonathan Woodgate's alluded to over the weekend maybe some players going out on loan. He said some lads maybe need to play in League 2 or League 1 and the Championship, and he's pointed to Lewis Wing and saying how his game developed after he went on loan to Yeovil. So obviously I think there will be some players going out, but like you say, it doesn't always work out. I mean, Hayden Coulson was out on loan last year, wasn't he?
Apparently wasn't that good.
And it didn't really work out yet. You've watched him through pre-season Friday night, and he looks a good prospect, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah, so
I think he struggled a bit on Friday night defensively, I thought. But McManaman's quite a direct player, isn't he? But then attacking wise, I thought it was class.
And I think that's probably in a way also a symptom of how we're setting up as well. Because if you think the last 2 years, go beyond the last 2 years, even the Karanka years, how we've set up, the defence has always had a lot of protection in front of it. Sometimes it's had 2 men in front of it in, say, Ledbetter and Clayton and other people. That's more or less gone now.
That's what I was a bit disappointed in Clayton. Like every time Coulson bombed forward, I wanted him to be like covering, but he's got a difficult role he's playing. He's got a difficult role.
Yeah, he has got a difficult.
That,
and in a way, it's like you say, no reflection on Adam Clayton. I think he's been asked to do a lot in the new system we're playing. But maybe it needs somebody who's maybe younger, or does he need someone else alongside in there? I don't know. But then would that take away from what you're doing going forward? But it's like you've gone from one extreme to the other. Watching that on Friday night.
I'm up for 3-3s over nil-nils any day.
I mean, I don't know about you lads. Watching that game on Friday, I felt physically drained at the end of it. So God knows how the players went. But what pleased you the most about it on Friday, Joe?
It's just the attacking football, and truthful. It's like I said, we were lacking that last season. Just seeing all that attacking football, which is what we want in the club. And Friday just showed glimpses of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it was like how quick we were getting the ball from defence to attack. The press, the second goal, I think, came from us pressing them from the.
And there was more than one time that happened through the game, wasn't it?
A few times. Also, we were keeping the ball quite good for Wing's goal. We had a nice little spell of play.
I thought second half we did get better in that, didn't we?
Good signs, promising signs. Defensively was a bit suspect. Like you said, you're going to
something we can work on, really.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's a fair point, because I mean, like you say, the pressing and the attacking play was very encouraging, and it was really good. And something has to give defensively in a way, but that's only their first game. That's the first league game. It's Woodgate's first league game. And I'm sure the coaching staff will recognise all these things.
Course,
and given time, they'll work on these things, and they'll work on getting the balance right. So, I mean, And also a little stat from Friday night, credit to Jonathan Woodgate, he's the first manager in our last 8 permanent managers not to get beaten his first game.
Oh, really?
All the 7 before him all lost their first game.
We do start quite slowly. I seen once in, we had 18 shots.
Yeah.
And Pulis only managed that twice.
18 shots in a game.
In his reign, and Woodgate's done it in his first game.
Yeah, so. I think it's a sign of things to come, isn't it? And that's in an away game, so you would expect in home games.
We've absolutely smashed some teams apart.
So talking about that, I mean, at the end of the day, we got a point there at Luton. You happy with the point, Joe? On reflection, how did you feel at this? Sum up your feelings at the end of the game, mate.
Overall, I'm happy with the performance. Never mind the result, really. It's just the performance is what matters, isn't it? It's what you want in terms of compared to last season, obviously compared to now. I mean, I'll take a point at the end of the day, but all that matters was the performance, which is what we wanted.
I mean, I was happy with the point. My only thing about the performance is, in a way, would people still be so positive, Joe, if Darren Randolph hadn't pulled off that save in the last minute and we'd have lost 4-3?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you think people would then have said, oh, do you know, it's great to watch, but do you know what, we've lost 4-3? It's finding a balance, isn't it, between results and performances, because you still have to get results, don't you?
Yeah, especially in this league, you've got to get results. Yeah. And like I say, if not for Darren Randolph, we probably would have lost. So.
Could have lost at the end, yeah. But like you say, it's a point, and I mean, you came up with a great stat before we came on tonight about promoted teams at the weekend.
All we're getting, I think it was Tranmere got beat, Luton drew, the rest of them won.
Yeah.
Like you look at Charlton, they went away to Blackburn.
Yeah. And I think in a way, don't kid yourself, Sky were there on Friday night, 'cause I think they expected Luton to win, didn't they? Because it was their first game back in the Championship. They were there thinking, oh, I want to see them. It was a lot of it was about Luton, wasn't it? And
I always say, if you can avoid like getting a promoted, remember in the Premier League when we went to Reading?
Yeah.
They've done us free too. I hate playing promoted teams on the first day.
Because they are going to come with a lot of sort of momentum there.
Atmosphere is going to be bound. Look at Luton, they haven't lost at home in over a year.
Yeah,
so
28 league matches.
Plus they want something to prove at the start of the season.
I was disappointed that we drew in the end, but before kick-off I was happy with a point.
Yeah.
3-2 up, you get a penalty.
Yeah. The chances were there, and like we said there, you go 3-2 up, then you get a penalty, and to score 3 goals away from home and not win is disappointing. But on the balance of play, I mean, Luton could point to the fact that they should have maybe had a penalty at the start of the second half. When Lewis Wing caught the lad in the box, and I think it did look like a penalty. I think a draw was
fair.
I definitely think the point was...
Would you take Brit off penalties or not? Because he's got previous to do it.
Exactly.
He hit it over
against Reading a couple of years ago. And
he's got previous to do it. It's that daft run up.
And do you know what? If I'd have thought there was somebody else there willing to take penalties, I would say yes, take him off. Ledbitter's not there anymore now. Hugill put them away last year.
Be tempted to give Wing a chance.
Yes, I was just about to say the same thing.
Wing or Howson, maybe.
Maybe Wing or Howson, because I think Howson has took penalties before at his time at Leeds and Norwich, etc.
I just think
it's going to stick with him. At first, I wanted him to absolutely railroad him in public. I was like,
there were Tony Pulis on him.
But then, obviously, Pulis done that a lot, and it didn't work, did it? So he's put his arm around him, said he's my number 9, he's going to score goals. So fair play to him. Let's see how it works.
I think judging from reactions from fans at the game, and then afterwards on social media and throughout the weekend, and just talking to people, it seems as though it's been a very positive response from Boro fans having watched that game. And I think, in a way, having been fed what we've been fed the last 18 months in terms of football we've seen, it was like night and day, wasn't it? And people were quite positive about it, but I still think there's the pressure there to get results, isn't there? Which the players will know, the management will know. But it was encouraging, wasn't it?
I think there's pressure's off a little bit this season with Woodgate being a rookie.
Right.
No money. I think no one expects us to get playoffs, do they? Surely.
I don't, but I think it's how long do you accept not being challenging in the Championship?
You know, like you said, if we don't, Wing will be off.
Yeah, that's a worry. You're going to have to start every year dismantling a team and starting to build it again. So it's like, there is pressure there. I always think there is pressure there when you're in the Championship to try and get in the Premier League. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. And I think the fans will be understanding. I think they will cut the management and the players some slack. But I don't think it'll take long.
It takes like 3 games without a win or something.
And that's it. And pressure builds. And I think, unfortunately, that's just how modern day football is now. I don't think it was like that in the past, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It certainly wasn't. But I think now fans want results, and they'll put up with watching decent football for so long. But if you don't have something at the end of it, they're a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like when I said when Woodgate got appointed. I think it would take like 4 to 5 months to give them a chance. But if you're not producing the results, the fans are going to get on your back pretty much straight away.
Yeah. I think it's just the nature of football. I don't think that's just a Middlesbrough thing. I think that's just football in general now. Yeah. But like I say, generally very positive that on Friday night. It was good to watch.
Yeah, it was good to watch.
And like I say, if people have been switched off from going to watch the Boro in the past because of the type of football, that should encourage people to come down to the Riverside and support them, shouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. When talking of which, it's the first home game this weekend. Jonathan Woodgate's first league match in charge of the Boro against Brentford. You expecting another goal fest, lads?
I am. Score draw again for me.
Another score draw.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see where we left off on Friday night. Just keep attacking, and then the goals will come. And just once we get the defensive thing all sorted, hopefully when the transfer window closes, we're back bringing a couple of defensive players in. I think we're pretty much sorted.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing, isn't it, with the transfer window, you don't quite know where you stand at the minute in terms of the squad, what players you've got. They'll take time to settle in as well. So it's going to take some time before you know who you've got, what the makeup of the team's going to be. But Saturday's game, Brentford, they produce exciting, entertaining football. I mean, on Saturday they had over 75% of possession, 15 shots
I can't believe they
against Birmingham's, 1, and they lost 1-0.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a good time to play them, because there might be some more outgoings? I know they've signed a player from France today, a winger for 6 million.
I think it is, yeah. Like you said, there's likely 2 of their players going out. Is it
Watkins and Morpay might be going,
But I also think the style we're playing now is going to benefit them.
Yeah.
Like under Karanka and Pulis, they struggled against us badly, especially Karanka.
Yeah.
They didn't.
We
turned it their bogey team, didn't we?
Yeah.
But now I think that we're going to be playing a bit more open, I think it'll be better for them.
Yeah.
I'm going 2 each.
You're going 2 each Saturday?
2 each,
What do you reckon for Saturday then, Joe?
Yeah, hopefully the attacking football plays out and we get the win, but you just have to look at compared to last season. Last season, Brentford absolutely tortured us. And there's one player in particular that caught my eye in terms of he's a player that we could buy, if we had the chance, and that's Said Benrahma. He's one of the top. He's going to be the main danger, obviously, but then you mentioned like Watkins and Morpay on the way out. Morpay possibly might be going off to Brighton.
Yeah.
I think Benrahma is going to be their main danger threat.
They were good at the Riverside last
year.
In terms of it. As far as prediction goes, hopefully with any luck, I'm going to predict 2-0 Boro win.
2-0 Boro. Yeah, I mean, I think Brentford are traditionally one of the best footballing teams, certainly attacking teams, in the last 3 or 4 years that have come to the Riverside. And I don't think it'll be anything different on Saturday. I think it might be like a basketball game. I think the ball will be up and down one end or the other. And I certainly think there'll be goals. I just think we might edge it 2-1. I just think with the Woodgate factor, his first home game, a decent crowd in, and I think the fans will just push them over the line.
I'll
and I think
change to 2-1.
I think we'll sneak it
I'll
2-1,
change
mate.
2-1,
I'll tell you what, first 2 games, 4 points. That's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very, very positive.
I'll say 2-1, but then you twist them.
I reckon after Friday night, I think Boro fans will probably come in their droves this Saturday. Regarding...
I think it'll be a decent
Friday
Do you
night,
think? I mean, that's an interesting point. I mean, what do you think in terms of crowds? Because like last year, you were hitting round about the low 20s. It's first home game.
23-ish.
I think that. Do you know what? I think that would be a good crowd. If you got anything over 23,000, with the greatest respect, Brentford aren't going to bring lots.
No,
I expect them probably to bring at least like 400-500.
Yeah. But if we get anything over 23,000 there on Saturday, I think that'd be a good crowd, good turnout. So we've got our predictions for Saturday. Now this is the really difficult one. I know, a bit of fun. We did this last year.
Yeah.
We predict the top 3 and the bottom 3, or the 3 that'll go up and the 3 that'll go down. I had a 50% success rate last year, so pretty disastrous really. Who do you think will be the 3 that'll go up? Who'll be the 3 that'll go down? And where do you think the Boro will finish?
Me.
All of us. Do you want to have time to think about? Because I knew this was coming, so I'll give you my.
Go on then, you go
my 3 to go up: West Brom, Leeds, and Cardiff. My 3 to go down: Reading, Charlton, and Hull. And I've got Boro to finish 9th. I think we'll just fall a little bit short of the playoffs this year. Lads on the cameras, you can have a go at this and all, so you get your thinking caps on there.
I'm going to go Reading and Charlton to go down, definitely. I can't think of a third one. There's always like a team who you don't expect to be around there.
Yeah.
I think Forest might.
Forest,
Might
that's
have
a big shout, that,
on
mate.
Like Ipswich last year. I'm going to put
a-
one out there. Say
Whoa,
Forest.
Forest, eh?
Put one out there.
Any Forest fans that are watching this on recording, Lee Bailey said that. Not want Forest to go down. Poor my neck.
Nah, it's hard that.
Go on, who's your 3 to go up
To
then?
go up, definitely Cardiff under one, I think.
Yeah.
I know they had a bad result.
Yeah, but he's just a
he'll
pass
just turn
master,
him
isn't he?
he'll just turn him into a machine.
Yeah,
And he'll just
yeah.
score one of them.
Yeah. Aidan Flint will score about 15 goals, won't
Yeah,
he?
guaranteed to score past us. Craney the other night.
I know.
You couldn't. Cardiff to go up. I think it's hard. I think West Brom. I don't think Leeds will.
Do you not think?
No.
I was very impressed with them. I'll say that quietly. I was very impressed with them yesterday, and I just think.
Yeah, they were good.
I just think, having almost gone the distance last year, I think they will be theirs this year. As much as we maybe don't want it to happen, I can't see how Leeds won't be going up this year. That's all
I can't. Them two front Max, I couldn't tell you the playoffs. Mate.
Right, okay.
Like you said, in the playoffs, there's always one who sneaks in.
Could it be the Boro? Or where do you think
Why
Boro
not?
finish?
I think just outside playoffs, 8th maybe.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad shout. Go on, Joe.
Right.
Fire away, mate.
3 to go up, I'm going to say Leeds, West Brom and Huddersfield.
Huddersfield, now they're playing tonight, don't against Derby, so yeah, let's see how
I'm
they
just
go.
judging it based by the squad that Huddersfield have got.
Yeah.
3 to go down is the most difficult one. I'm going to say Reading,
Clean sweep.
Charlton,
Clean sweep.
and quite possibly maybe Blackburn.
Blackburn. Tony Mowbray's
Some
good.
big names getting sort of
Yeah, there is, isn't he?
I
Yeah,
think-
from Premier League winners.
I think
I'm just judging them by the game against Charlton. They didn't look impressive in my eyes, in my opinion.
I'm going to reserve judgment after we've gone there in 2 weeks' time. I don't want to slag them off loads and then
I
they
know,
turn us over.
I don't want
these-
to step in there either. But
There's teams who are
As
worse
far
than
as
Forest, like Millwall, they're good at home, but
yeah,
that only takes you so far.
Yeah, Millwall was another one who was in consideration in my 3 to go down. I think just by the skin of their teeth, I'll probably see them staying up this season.
I think QPR will be sound this season.
Yeah,
I think they'll be all right.
I mean, that was a hell of a result going to Stoke and winning on Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, as far as us go, I'll probably say we'll probably finish just outside the playoff. I'm going to say 8th.
Yeah.
That's interesting that all 3 of us have gone for maybe just outside the playoffs, and like you say,
Let's
I think a
hope
lot
we're
of Boro.
pleasantly surprised.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way, it could work in the Boro's favour this year that people aren't expecting them to be, or definitely in the playoffs at least, or top 2. I think people's expectations have been lowered a little bit, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And like I say, if the club are allowed to, or the players are allowed to maybe just express themselves on the pitch, which I think the manager wants them to do, and the fans are accepting that, you know what, this is what we're going to get. Some weeks it might work, some weeks it won't work. It'll take a little bit of pressure, particularly at home games. I think especially last year, home games, it felt as though it didn't take long for everybody to be sort of like either falling asleep or on
Toxic,
people's
wasn't
backs. It was a toxic
Especially
atmosphere.
that spell, was it March where we didn't win in 6 games?
Especially the last game of the season when there was a dinosaur thrown onto the pitch.
Yeah, that was uncalled for. You didn't have to do that, Joe. You didn't have to throw that on, mate.
Yeah. It's one of them you shouldn't do it again.
Yeah. But yeah, so new era, new season. Hopefully some positives at the end of it, as well as just after the first game, which has been really interesting to watch and an exciting game. But you never know where we'll finish. Boro fans, like I say, hopefully in future weeks we'll be going out live so you can interact with us here on the show. And like I say, you're more than welcome to come and join us. Thank you, lads, for being with us here tonight. Really enjoyed your company and chatting about the first game of the season and the goings on during the summer. Keep an eye out for Joe's preview before the game at the weekend against Brentford. There'll be the alternative Teesside view from Ted Hankey as well. He's also going to be giving his take on all things Boro and the first home game against Brentford. So, yeah, I'm not sure what he'll come out with, but yeah, Ted will give his own opinions about how the Boro are going to do in this weekend's game. From us all here at the Longlands Club, thanks very much for watching, everybody. Until next week from Off the Bench, thanks again and up the Boro.